What's up, guys? I'm back doing a update on the NBA for the first half of the season. It's All-Star Weekend this season, and I'm just gonna basically go down the rundown of who are the playoff teams as of right now, and who are my predictions at the beginning of the year. Um, in the NBA, I've had pretty good preseason predictions to fall through. In the West, I had the Warriors, which they still have a chance. They're a couple games back of making the playoffs. I had them in there. I also had Denver, who right now is just below um, making the um, playoffs, and they were one of my predictions for the playoffs. One team I didn't have in there that is in the playoffs is the um, the Houston Rockets. Was kind of surprised to see them in the playoffs, and um, that was one team that I was kind of surprised seeing there. Memphis was another one that they're in right now, but we'll see how that pans out. I figured that they would be a pretty decent team, but I figured they'd finish in about the ninth or 10th slot. They've done okay right now. They're in the 7. There's a lot of basketball to be played in most of these games, or in most of the conferences, so it's not set in stone yet, but these are the playoff teams as of right now. You have the Thunder, the Spurs, the Clippers, the Mavericks, the Lakers, the Rockets, the Grizzlies, and the Blazers. And my predictions for the playoffs were the Warriors, Thunder, Spurs, Blazers, Lakers, Mavs, Clippers, and Denver. So 6 out of the 8 so far, not too bad. I also said that Minnesota would be a borderline playoff team. I felt like they would just fall just short, and as it sits right now, they have a legit shot to get in. They're going to be facing up with teams like Denver and Utah and Portland, Memphis, Houston for those final couple spots. But so they have a chance. We'll see how that pans out. I'd really like to see them get in, and that'd be a good thing. It's been a long time since the Wolves have been good. People have been celebrating them being 500, and if you go to any other town in America and say our basketball team is 500, not too many people would care. Maybe with the exception of Washington, but other than that, not too many teams would be overly excited about that, and a lot of the Timberwolves fans are. So there's a lot of good energy around that team. I figured that Kyrie Irving would probably be winner of Rookie of the Year, and we'll see how that pans out. He's been pretty steady. I know he just recently got injured, but up until that point, he's been pretty steady. But with Linsanity coming out of nowhere, he could very well steal the Rookie of the Year. He reminds me a lot of Tebow, just the way he presents himself. He is pretty openly about his faith. He's just another one of those people that really does a lot of good things off the court and really represents himself well on the court as well. And so that's another good story. His stats haven't been overwhelming as much as people think they have been. He's been scoring points, but he has been turning the ball over quite a bit too. I know in the last game against the Heat, I believe he had like 8 points and 9 turnovers or 10 turnovers. So we'll see how that pans out. But it's really good for New York fans. It's been a while since they had a good point guard. Probably as long as since Mark Jackson played for them. But yeah, they're hanging in there, and they'll be a playoff team. They'll only get better from here. The Heat were my preseason East champions, and I had them playing against the Thunder was my West. The Heat are by far, I think, the best teams right now. You can argue that Chicago and the Thunder are better, but I mean the Heat have. I think they've won 8 or 9 in a row going into the break, and they've just been destroying everyone. And so I'm going to stick with the Heat as my East champions and my eventual champions. And in the East, my preseason playoff predictions are all accurate right now. All 8 of these teams are in the East playoff picture. It was the Heat, Pacers, Bulls, 76ers, Boston, New York, Orlando, and Atlanta. Um, and I really think it's going to stay this way. I really don't see any team um, going to come in. The next closest is Cleveland, which is a game and a half behind Boston, but I just don't see any of these teams, Cleveland, Milwaukee, Detroit, Toronto, New Jersey, Washington, Charlotte, I don't see any one of those teams knocking out the 8 that are already in. I think the 8 that are already in are clearly better by far than the other ones that are in. I was a little bit surprised to see the Pacers as high as 3 in the East right now, at 21-12. I figured they'd be in the playoffs. But I had them in at about a 6 or 7 seed. But we'll see. There's a lot of basketball to be played. New York, Boston, and Atlanta can all get higher than 6, 7, and 8. I think Orlando will slide down. New York will slide up. Boston will slide up. And the Sixers will probably remain in the middle. I figured the Sixers would be pretty good this year. I definitely had them in, and we'll see how that goes. But I think for the big thing with the East, you have to look at the top half of the East is clearly better than the bottom half. I think if you put Miami against Boston, it's a blowout, 5 games or less. Chicago against New York, that one could maybe go 6. But Indiana, Atlanta, that could be a long series. Philly, Orlando, that could be a long series as well. But I really think that if you're in the top half of the East, you're much better than the bottom half of the East. Teams like Miami, Chicago, or if you're the 7 or 8 seed, you're not getting out of the first round. It's plain and simple as that. And I really do believe that. The All-Star Weekend game is this weekend, and the West has won in the recent years quite a bit. And I think the West is deeper of a team, but I think the East is better. I mean, if you have players like Rose, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Dwight Howard, I mean, some of the players for the East are just, they're the best at their position. But the depth-wise, the West will be deeper. I'm going to take the East to win this year. I took them to win last year. And I just think the East is going to be better for a while. Not depth-wise, but if you take the top 3 teams in the East and put them against the top 3 teams in the West, it's Miami, Chicago, and Indiana right now. But I don't think Indiana will stay there versus Oklahoma City, San Antonio, the Clippers. I really think San Antonio will slide in the second half of the season. I think you'll see San Antonio get in with about this 5 or 6 seed. I expect the Lakers to actually move up a little bit, and I expect Portland to move up a little bit. I really think Portland is a solid basketball team. They should be in the 4th or 5th slot, not sitting at 8. They should move up. I think teams that may fall out of the playoff picture that are in right now are Houston and Memphis. And you could see a team like Denver, Minnesota, Utah, or Golden State take that spot. I don't think the Suns have enough to erase a 4-game deficit. They're an average team. I'd say below average team. The Hornets are pretty much out of the picture, along with Sacramento. Golden State has quite a ways to make up. It's only 3 games, but they do have 3 teams ahead of them, and then the teams that are all sitting in the same range. Between the 5 and 13th seeded teams in the standings in the West, it's only a matter of 6 or 5 games. So, I mean, it could uh, really leave up for a lot of open room in the West. The West race will be a lot more interesting than the East. I don't think anyone out of the East that is already in the playoffs will fall out. And that's just been a little halftime, mid-season wrap-up of what I think is going on in the NBA. I'm still going to stick with my overall prediction of the Heat over the Thunder. I really think the Thunder have been playing great, and that could be a really good series. NBA Finals this year will be a lot better than last year's against the Mavs. But I really like the way the Heat are playing right now. They're killing everyone. They're playing great defense. And like I said in a previous video of mine, Michael Jordan won his first championship when he was 27. LeBron just turned 27. So uh, let the comparisons begin to see if LeBron will ever be as good as MJ. A lot of people think that's kind of crazy to compare him right now. But if you look at their stats, in-season stats, they are pretty close, up and down. And then I really think Kobe's run is really going to come to an end. The only way I think the Lakers have a chance to be a great team is to land Dwight Howard or get a lot for Paul Gasol. There's a lot of trade rumors going around that the Timberwolves are interested in Paul Gasol. I don't know. There's a couple other teams that are interested in him as well. But I really hope the Timberwolves do not deal for Paul Gasol. They are willing to give up Derek Williams and draft picks to get him. And although it would be great for the Wolves and it really would fit their system a lot, Nikola Pekovic has been playing outstanding at center for the Timberwolves lately, and I just really think that would be giving up too much to make a move like that for Paul Gasol. Although Derek Williams is not he's not really something that I can see developing into being a great scorer. I thought he would be a lot better in this league, but he has not been. And Ricky Rubio has been a great addition to my Minnesota Timberwolves. Alright, well, I will post another video most likely before the playoffs. I'll maybe give you a 3/4 update of the season. But I'm out for now. Hope you enjoyed the video. Good luck.